Hey, good evening, everyone. John Henry Stoter here, along with George Batista. Welcome to Counterparts. We're very excited today. We have Mr. ESQ is in the house, hip hop artist out of Canada. New music out that I've been listening to today. Really, really great stuff, and we're really excited to talk to him about stuff. I get choked a little bit there about stuff. I didn't get choked up. I just choked. We're going to be talking to him about a lot of cool things. So we're going to listen to a little bit of jazz, and then we're going to come back, and it's going to be all hip hop all night. All right. Well, thank you very much. I took a sip of tea there. I feel a lot better now. Thank you. George, I know you were concerned.
Yes, I was very much.
Appreciate it. All right. So like I said, we have Mr. ESQ is going to be on the show. We're going to be talking a lot about music and hip hop. And I'm excited about that because I'm from the Bronx. Yo,
Boogie down.
Like, yo, before we start, I just want to give a quick shout out to the promotion people who actually have been really, really cool with us. We've been like working with them. They brought us some great people, and we're working really hard to provide a platform that their artists can really shine and really educate our audience and work together on that. So thank you so much. We appreciate it, Leslie and everyone over there. Thank you. Appreciate it. And George, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, sir. So just a quick note, the Counterparts show is brought to you by Wellness Resources, a family-owned and operated nutritional supplement company providing the highest quality clinically formulated supplements since 1985. Find out why Wellness Resources supplements are the top choice of health-conscious individuals around the world. Go to myvitaminresource.com. And by the way, if you enter the promo code Counterparts, you will get free shipping. So check it out. All right. So a little bit about our guest today, Mr. ESQ. So he has blossomed into a fine artist since entering the Canadian entertainment scene based in Victoria, British Columbia. Mr. ESQ started music when he was 12 years old, writing down his thoughts in a poetic style. His music currently explores hip-hop roots, but also experiments with other genres that suit his voice, such as R&B, pop, and country. His life and his career has had its challenges and obstacles, including time spent in prison where he began to make self-discoveries which changed his life. Today, he has a daughter, a business, and a budding musical career in which he uses his musical talents and a positive message to guide those in their youth to make better choices in life. And we couldn't be happier to have him on this program. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring up Mr. ESQ.
Right.
All right.
All right.
I think you nailed it on that one. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Definitely our pleasure to have you on.
What I strive for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is one of the things that George and I talk about a lot in this on this show. We both from the Bronx, New York, South Bronx, rough neighborhood, and challenges happened, and you're able to. There's something within us, I think, that we kind of understand that we have more to offer. And when you get to that and you really start seeing that, and that kind of is exciting. And then when you can give that to others, that's just what life's about, So we're really excited about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, paying it forward for sure. Utilizing your mistakes and just helping others through your experiences. That's kind of what I want to do with my music. That's kind of the direction I'm going with it. So it seems to be paying off. I'm getting a lot of love, a lot of respect from people. A lot of messages saying I changed their lives, or I helped them through a certain situation. So that makes it so much worth it for me.
That's so awesome. That's all. Yeah, I was listening to Rich Problems today. Great track. I mean, it's got a groove in it that it's like almost hypnotic in a way.
Yeah, those are just one of those party songs that just kind of came about, Yeah,
it's so awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So George has he's more like the official guy. He has like questions. I usually kind of free flow and
sure. Let's get right to it then.
So George, go for it.
Absolutely. Well, so again, thank you so much for being on. I think your story is probably going to be, of all the guests we had on, probably the most inspiring. because of all the challenges that you've been through and how you've come out of that, and the message that you're bringing to everyone, which is fantastic.
Wow,
And
that's amazing.
yeah,
I
we're
appreciate that.
very, very excited. So tell me about when you were younger. I know that it says that you were writing when you were young. Who were your influences musically when you were a kid?
Definitely West Coast based
Okay.
hip hop. So when I was 12, I was a little younger, so it was more like South Central Cartel, Spice One, and then it really gravitated towards Tupac. Was
Okay.
when he came out with Me Against the World is really
Mhm.
where I gravitated towards his music a lot. Just the way he displayed his emotions, he put it all out there. I felt like that was the only way I could get things off of my chest as a young man. So I really appreciated his style, and I think that's what pulled me in that direction. So
Right.
forever grateful for the man. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I can definitely hear that inspiration, on your tracks as well. And he really changed the game as far as not, it's not hip hop per se, but the way he brought it to the table was so different than anyone else. I mean, you might say that Biggie also kind of had that as well, coming from on the East Coast. But those two, to me, like really did something on their own, but brought it to another level where everyone else was like, "Oh, damn."
I think so too. I think that generation was when it was really starting to display their actual true thoughts and feelings and emotions. Not that guys before that weren't, but they were talking about real shit that happened in the streets and things like that.
Right.
Nobody was really pouring their heart out on a record like those guys were. And they kind of set the bar, and then everybody started doing it. I mean, it was Nas and Rakim and all those guys came out with like some real emotional songs, and I think it shook up the world for sure, man. I think it did.
They absolutely did. Yeah. I mean, coming from the Bronx, I remember as a kid listening to, we had a station WBLS, and this was before hip hop was anything. It wasn't even called hip hop. It was called rapping, and you were the MC. You were an MC. That's what you were.
Yeah.
And but back on midnight, there would be these rap battles, and it'd be Cold Crush and Grandmaster Flash and all these guys would just kind of get on, and they'd be live, and we would get our little boom boxes and record it, and then the next day whoever had the best recording, that they'd be the one playing it. And
that's so dope.
Yeah, and it was a great time. But you're right, they were talking about, like, they were kind of boasting about themselves in a sense, like, I got my gold chain, I got my girl, I got everything is going great.
Yeah.
And then Tupac and Biggie and guys like that just kind of was like, well, that's all good.
Right.
But this is what's really happening.
Yeah.
And that was really what elevated, I think, the way that it was communicated.
I think so too. And I think, when you structure an album, or when these guys structure an album, you got to have those bangers. We got to have songs like Rich Problem. You got to have songs like California Love, and you got to have songs like Juicy, like Biggie did. This captures the audience. This is like, okay. And they're like, I hear you. And then when they listen to your album, they're like, okay, now I feel you. Now I understand you. Now I'm getting to know you. And I think that's how they structured their albums. I read a lot of articles on those guys and the way they write their music. And I really inherited that in my style. I feel just to present a project, not just like throw a song out there for it to be a song and a banger for people to hear, but meticulous in what I'm gonna deliver. So
right. And with the message, I mean, Jordan, I'm sorry, I'll let you say a few words.
No. Thanks, John. No. I was just gonna kind of piggyback on that, because especially listening to your music, you kind of present, because you speak such from the heart. You bring out even their vulnerability out there, and I know sometimes it's difficult for people to do that, but you say, here it is. This is what I've been through. This is what I've done. This is, and that's one of the things I respect really about your music.
Sorry, something happened there.
Sure.
For me personally, it's like, well, I mean, I think it's us as men. We're not built to be throwing our emotions out there all the time. It's really hard for us to kind of come out and say these things. But on a record, or writing poetry, or when you're alone with your thoughts, writing it on paper, not anticipating people will even hear it, because I got songs that will never see the light of day, that they're throwaways. It's just me getting things off of my chest. That's just my coping mechanisms. But I think it's easier to do it with music, because you don't know if people are going to hear it or utilize it, but it gives you an opportunity to get things off of your chest in the moment. And people seem to really love it, so I'm going with it. I love it.
No, it's great. I mean, you're really capturing that sound, and with the message behind it, which is really, and I wanted to ask you your opinion on this, because the future of hip hop for a while there was a little shaky, because there was these, the East Coast, West Coast, and it just seemed like it wasn't about the music anymore. It seemed about it was very violent, which I understand. I understand that, because that's where they're living in.
Yeah.
But where do you see that hip hop going in the next 10 years?
Well,
Loaded question.
I feel like we are going to return to the roots of hip hop. I think that it's going to bring us back 20 years then, and get back into like that real raw emotional stuff, not just this surface area shit that is playing. Guys are putting out records that they're not really saying anything. They're not making an impact. Yeah, they're dope songs and you're getting millions of views and people are dancing in the clubs to it, but like, what are you actually saying?
Right.
And I get it. I understand we need to glorify things in order to capture the attention of the young mind, in order to get a message across. So, I'm guilty of it too. I'll put bangers out. I'll say things that in records that I wouldn't necessarily do in this day and age. Maybe back in the day when I was a little hellraiser, I would have done some shit. But, those are my mistakes. This is the path that I chose. I've walked it so I can talk about it. I'm not just going to make up a bunch of shit and be like, listen to my album or listen to my record because it sounds cool. It's like, I actually lived this life. I did it. I don't recommend it either. So I feel like we are going to rewind 20 years. In 10 years, we will rewind 20 years.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel the same way. There is a shift happening right now in music overall. I think people are tired of what you were talking about those, those top 10 things. It's the same trap beats. It's the same kind of, I think they used one thing and they just speed it up and slow it down for the other artists.
I like to throw on a record, and by the end of the album, I want to have the feeling of like actually personally knowing the artist. Right. I want to hear their story. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to know their life. Right. Because you throw on an album and you're like, whoa, that guy, this, and this. And now you have an even better, deeper emotional connection to this artist. And that's what true fans do. But if I throw on your album and every song sounds the same and you're literally doing the same thing with a different beat and a different concept, what's the chances of me buying your next album or even hitting spin on Spotify or,
Right. And it's the fact that albums themselves used to have like, whether you're talking about any genre of music, an album was sort of a moment in time of that artist's communication. So they were there. And when you're done with it, you actually really get to know that artist. But it's because it was memorable. And that's the part of it that I see like now, like what you were saying, in 10 years, are people going to look back at what's playing right now in hip hop and go like, oh, that was awesome. Like the way we're still doing about Tupac and Biggie and even go back to the 70s.
Right.
Not a chance. I hate to say it, but not a chance.
It's interesting. We talk a lot about this article that we've read in the Atlantic, and it talked about not the Atlantic. It was the Atlantic.
Yeah,
the Atlantic. Yeah, and the article talked about how 70% of all music that's actually streamed on Spotify is old music. Old music is supporting these new artists because the shelf value of a new artist. It's like, sometimes they'll put stuff out and it evaporates as fast as it got there. But these older artists, and we're talking about obviously all different genres, but that seems to be what's really driving the streaming business. And
like, I think you think about,
they'll go back.
I seen this thing the other day about, there was a bunch of albums dropped within 90 days and it was, Nirvana and Pearl Jam and
right.
Like,
I just posted that.
Yeah. That was that you that I seen?
I might, maybe I posted it on Instagram. Yeah, it was like 1991.
These are albums that they're never going anywhere. They will be played for the
There were like
entire
10 of
history
them.
of the planet.
Yeah.
We're talking in 100 years, people are going to be listening to this music.
Yes.
And it's the same with Tupac, and Biggie and Jay-Z and Nas and Jadakiss. Like, all these guys are legends in the game. And then you think of this day and age, is like, in 100 years, are we going to be listening to this kind of music, or are we going to still be listening to the ones that actually impacted our soul, that sit with us? Things that resonate with us will last longer. That's longevity.
Yeah. And I think that's what with your music, when I was listening to your music, the longevity part of it, for me, I felt it because the message is universal. The message can keep going. You know what I mean? When you listen to some of these new tracks, it's sort of like, they're talking about their current, whatever, they're not to be vulgar, but their current hoe or whatever they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And it's so frivolous. It's like, shut up. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about actual stuff that really matters, it's gonna linger. It's gonna hang out, because what you just said, it does actually penetrate the soul.
It does. It sits with you. It resonates with you. It has a bigger impact for sure.
Absolutely.
So go back for me with, obviously you went through your challenges, right? You spent time in prison and those types of things. And I think that's going to resonate, especially with our viewers and listeners, to see where you came from and what you went through at that time. Talk a little bit about that, and then what was that point where the light bulb went off that said, I'm changing my life, and what did you do, and what was the mindset?
Well, I lived a lot of different lives in a short period of time when I was younger. Growing up with 3 older brothers, 3 older sisters, I had a lot of guidance and a lot of different directions, and they all went their own ways. And I tried to follow the path of a lot of them. And it's just unfortunate we all kind of took a bad path. But I went a little bit deeper into the game. I got tied up with a bunch of bad people in even worse ways. So, driving for escort agencies and selling drugs before I was even eligible for a license. I had my first lifetime ban on firearms when I was 14 years old from getting arrested with guns. And it's just not necessarily the life I wanted whatsoever. It's just, that's the neighborhood I grew up in.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a choice. If I was presented with an option of a different path, I would have taken it. If I had somebody like me guiding me with the things I know now, if I had somebody like me watching over me then, I wouldn't have been in the position I was. I would have been able to go on a different path and maybe become the man I am today in a different way.
Right.
But by the time I was 18, I was sentenced to 10 years in the federal penitentiary for, I woke up in a cell charged with manslaughter, and I had no recollection of what I did. So like that was the life-changing moment for me. And I didn't deny anything that I did. That's one thing about me, is I don't deny things. If I did it, I'm guilty. Let's get the process started. I'll plead guilty today. I don't believe I was guilty of what I did, but I woke up in a cell and they said what I said. And I said, okay, well, they offered me the maximum sentence, 14 years. I fought it. They shaved a few years off the top, and, here we are. So moving forward from there was the big decisions for me, because it's like, okay, I'm not getting out for a long time. We know that. That's for a fact. Me recognizing what my issues were with substance abuse and association and living that lifestyle, it's not sustainable for any man or woman. You're going to end up locked up, or you're going to end up dead. So like, even rewinding back 6 months before I went to jail, I had a son who passed away at birth when I was 18. Yeah. I mean, it tore me apart, and, no man or father should ever have to put their son in the ground, So I started drinking heavily and doing horrible things, getting in drunk fights and hurting people. And, I went around robbing drug dealers. That's what I did. I was like, these guys owe money. I'm collecting. I'm taking everything. So I went south. I wasn't like, fucking with no bitches and things like that. I was like, I'm gonna go after these kind of guys and I think I was looking for somebody to kind of end it for me, to be honest.
Okay.
I was going down that path, and if somebody was going to take my head off, they would have been probably doing me a favor at the time. Is kind of the way I thought, right? But so I changed my life. I made the decisions to just, not go back to that. I was like, I'm going to educate myself. I'm going to take these substance abuse problems. I need to deal with my anger issues and the violence, and I need to internalize the impact that I had, not on the community, but the family of the victims and my family and all that. So I had a lot of things to sit with, but I had a long time to sit with them. So I think I made the right choices to change, and I think I came out on top. I did all right, I think.
Yeah.
You absolutely did. You overcame it. I mean, that's the part of that's the miracle part, that you were saved for a reason.
That's what I think. Everything happens for a reason. Like even January 13th, I put my son in the ground. He died. He died on me. He died in my arms. 10 years to the day, January 13th, my daughter was born. And
wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It's crazy. So everything happens for a reason. They even told me the due date. They said, hey, your daughter's due date is January 13th. And I was like, right away, I went to, again, we're going to go through this again. Okay, let's fucking go. And, she came out. Now I'm 50-50. One passed away on me, and I got one living. Yeah. So that was enough for me. But on her birthday, she wears her brother's ashes.
Wow.
Every birthday.
Awesome.
She knows all about him. She knows all about my history. I don't sugarcoat things. I let her know what the world is actually out there that she's going to face. It's going to be horrible men that come across her that are going to try and do bad things to her. That's just the fact of the matter. It's the shitty world that we live in at the time. So, but that's a little bit of my history right there.
Wow. I mean, that's like mind blowing. I mean, the fact that you're here is it's really a blessing, because there's so many people that are going to learn from you.
I mean, I get lots of messages from people on this social media stuff, saying that, this song changed their lives, or, they were able to grieve about their loss of their child by playing the songs that I did for my son. And it's a blessing, just to, like, it warms my heart. Like, I never thought that I would ever be in the position to be like saying thank you for playing the song that made you take this path, or comforted you in your darkest moment, and you didn't go make the mistakes that I made because of this song, right? So that's what it's all about for me.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the stigma that hip hop has, where there is that tough element, which I get, because a lot of it was born in the streets, and that's where things got really hard. But there's also this thing about disrespecting women. And this is part of the issue, where you don't have the father figure there, because these fathers are not really there. You're there for your daughter, and that's like a blessing. But there are a lot of kids out there that just don't have the father, and if they are there, they're not really present in the way they should be.
And financially present isn't enough.
Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I think that sometimes, when you listen to some of these hip hop tracks, whether they're trying to make a statement, almost playing a character, I understand, but sometimes it glorifies it.
Yeah, and I understand the glorification of things. I've done it. I'm guilty of it, in hopes to capture the attention, to bring them back to the messages that I have. But if all your songs are like this, and you don't have something that is gonna help somebody, to go back on and be like, oh, okay, it's cool to be out there in the club with your girls and your friends, and mashing it up, and you got the nice car and the chain and stuff like that. But where's the songs about what are you grateful for? Like, what was your family there for you? Well, if I've been in foster care and stuff like that, so I'm appreciative of the foster parents that I had for the brief time that I had them. It was
you got muted.
Company call. It was good for me to have that experience, because there's more people that care for you. It shows that people actually give a shit in what direction you're going to go as a young man or woman. But I think I try to limit the vulgar stuff in my songs. I try not to swear too much. I got songs with no swear words. I refer to my girl as a bitch sometimes in my songs, because that's just what it is. But then I have songs that are very empowering for her, And she knows I appreciate her. she knows I appreciate her. She's looking at
But
But yeah, no, I do say things like that, like, but I don't mean it in a disrespectful way whatsoever,
right.
And I just did an album called Armor, was my last studio album. And the song Armor was about a situation that happened in Victoria here. This guy raped like 50 women in my community. And and he did it. He went from community to community and just took advantage and drugged and raped and beat women. And he was doing this for years. Years. So I was in a group chat with about 40 girls, and one of them sat me down and wanted me to do this song. And we were in tears writing this shit.
Wow.
And it was the hardest song I ever had to write in my life. And dropped a video.
Amazing.
But it's all good. So we dropped the video, and had like a really empowering dancer, a contemporary dancer, a female, and just to show the strength of women. And that's what it was. It wasn't about me. The song is like women that don't want to speak because there's this stigma around, women, things happening to them and people not believing them.
Right.
Exactly.
If a girl comes out and says, hey, this happened to me, and we're quick to say, oh, well, we start making excuses, we should be jumping up and saying, like, where the fuck is this guy? And those are the things that should be happening. We shouldn't be like, oh, maybe you were this, oh, just let it go. We need to tell them that it's okay. It's not their fault. They can speak up, and we are there for them. We as men have their back. We're their protectors. That's what it is. I'm here to protect my daughter. I'm here to protect my woman. And there's no reason why a woman at midnight should be scared to walk to her car when we as men don't have a fear to.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's definitely that message that, needs to really get out, especially in that creative way.
Like, if it was up to me, I'd be putting my foot on the throat of that fucking issue and getting to the bottom of it right away. Like harsher punishment and convictions for fucking sex offenders and rapists and things like that, and child molesters. These are the people that need to be taken out, not shooting each other in the street. Like these young guys and gangs all over the world, they're killing each other over nothing, like, colors and things like that. It's like, fuck, man, there's so many bigger issues in the world than that, and we need to unify. It doesn't matter your skin color. We need to come together as people.
Right.
As a race.
Yeah, and I think that the message that you're saying, what the language that never really bothers me in hip hop or in anything in general. Just if the communication is there, you know what I mean? Because that's really just another form of communication. Like our mouths use our tongue to make certain words sound a certain way. That doesn't mean anything. It's the intention that means something. You know what I'm saying? That's where it really comes from. How the words and that, it's just the sound that comes out of our heads that we all agree that this word is that, and this word is that, and it's like it doesn't mean anything. But intentionally, if you're intentionally being malicious or something, that's where it really comes in. So communication really is just communication when people understand it. It's two forms.
You just got to watch what you say. My brother used to say to me, he's like, you got to really watch what you say. Your teeth are prison bars for your tongue. So watch what you say.
I like that.
That's a good one.
I like that.
It's amazing. But yeah, and I identify with everything you're saying, especially as a dad myself to a young girl, and John as a dad as well. So we really can feel that, and wanting to protect our kids and that type of thing. It's a powerful thing.
And it exists in 99% of men, for sure.
Yeah.
We all have a moral compass. We 100% do. Some people are like, get really pissed off, like men like us will get bent out of shape over shit like this.
Yeah.
Some guys won't. Those are the kind of guys that are like, we kind of need to shut them down.
But it's even just a simple thing. It's like my daughter has, she has guy friends and girlfriends and stuff like that. And, sometimes the guy friends will, come over or whatever. And, right away, I'm like, the chest comes out and I'm like walking over to them. I'm like, how you doing? You know, understand that I'm right here. I'm the barrier between you and her. Okay, you know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, that's what, yeah. I mean, well, my daughter's 11 and she's taller than me, so I can't really do that. But
Oh shit.
my wife,
my daughter's 11 as well. So.
Yeah. Oh, cool. My wife is 5'10", so she's the tough. She puts her chest out. But anyway, it's a different effect when she does it.
Yeah.
But just going back, because I mean, you know, George and I, like I said, we were in the Bronx, and you know, we witnessed. I think George remembers this when we were visiting my house one day, walking by. It was during the day, and some dude just got shot in the chest, and we saw blood splat. I mean, it was just like, and I remember, and George probably, we haven't spoken about this, but I remember thinking, I never want to raise a child in this, with that type of fear. You know, like I saw things by the time I was 15, 16 years old, I had already witnessed at least 3 to 4 murders in front of me, not to mention that one.
Right.
And that's something that I always wanted, you know. So we moved to Nashville right now. We live in like a nice community here in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's I think I have a son also who's 5.5 years old, and they don't understand what we're talking about.
Right.
No,
they do not get it.
Right.
And
like,
that's
even my wife, who's from the Midwest,
yeah.
She doesn't get it, and I don't want them to understand it because it's too horrific to understand it. It's like, let me deal with it. Let's just have a peaceful environment.
And that's the thing, is you providing a life that is better than our lives. That's what we're doing. We're giving them better than we ever had.
That's
right.
It.
So, and as long as that's instilled in our children moving forward, they're going to do that to their children, and
correct,
and become a better place.
Yeah.
Because there's been so much the last 40 years, 60 years has been crazy.
Yeah.
Especially breaking. And I mean, as the shade of your skin gets darker, the harder your life gets, which is crazy. It's unfortunate. It's like it can be like that. In this day and age, it's still a problem.
Right. And I think we're the generation that kind of broke that chain, you know, and are building a new, not even a chain, because that chain sounds violent, but building a new road that our children could go. Now, I don't want my kids to also be naive. You know, I want them to understand that there are people out there that are freaking assholes. And I want them to understand that. At the same time, I don't want them to be in fear of going to the park.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. That to me is important. So we're getting off some stuff, but I think it all ties into.
No, it does. It's all part of it.
I like this. This is good.
Yeah, to the music, which really is why we're here to talk about your incredible career. Let's talk a little bit about the actual performing, because we talk a lot about that as well. Do you remember the first time you got up in front of people to do your thing?
Yeah, the first. Well, I mean, I used to rap at parties for friends and stuff, but that was different. But you know, I want to say the first time I got up in front of a crowd to, you know, not even rap, not even that. They brought me out in chains to talk to schools, high schools, and youth detention centers and things like that.
Wow.
So that's, you know, the same stuff that I'm saying in my music, I would say to them, to stuff that I've had previously written while I was in a cage. I would then say, you know, it just didn't rhyme at the time. It was just what I was saying to them, and trying to get them to utilize my mistakes to not go down that path, you know?
Right.
So, but then the first time I got released from prison, and I had a no contact order with a lot of my old friends, right? Because they unfortunately still doing the same shit. So I wasn't allowed to hang out with them, which I understand. You know, I didn't want to go back and take a back step. I wanted to keep pushing forward. So I abided by my conditions. And then one of my friends that I grew up with got murdered. I mean, you know, got stabbed to death in the streets. And his little brother reached out to me, and he asked me to come to the studio because I taught him how to do music when he was 12 years old, when I used to rap to him when I was 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and turns out he dropping albums and he's doing good things. And so he brought me into the studio and he's like, I need you to feature on this song. And I said, okay. And that's the first time I actually recorded a song in a studio in 18, 19 years.
Wow.
Right. So I got about 4 or 5 bars out, and the engineer turned around and said, "Who the fuck are you, and where you been?" What? I said, "I'm just here to do this verse, man. Mind your business." But no, he grinded me. He got my email. He got my phone number. He got all my information, and he blew me up. And that's when I went in there, I recorded my first 10 songs, and that was my debut album, Letter to Judgment. And I wasn't even like, I didn't even want to put these songs out. I was like, these are just, I just wrote these. Like, these are just real quick and easy. He's like, no, the world needs to hear you. He said, the world needs to hear you. They need you. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Dropped the album and did a song on the bridge, and it just, then reporters and news area, they all calling me, and then little young Eazy-E came to town.
Oh wow!
First time I got on stage, I opened up for young Eazy-E.
Oh damn!
Wow!
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
Awesome.
It's crazy. To me, it's crazy. I'm like, yo, I like grew up to your father's music. Like, dude's a legend. Like, I know every song word for word. Same with every Tupac song, or that's just like, that was the genre. That was the
damn.
I loved it. It was surreal for me. And then it was like, and I opened up for Nelly, and then Fetty Wap and Yellow Wolf, and I was like, hey, this is crazy. And then Tech Nine, and I'm like, and here we are.
Yeah.
It's funny because John and I have recorded albums, and we know the feeling you get when you finally you're done with that album and you're hearing it back, and it's like, wow, everything that you put into the heart and soul in that album. I have to imagine for you, it must have been unbelievable going through everything you went through, and then actually seeing your first album and hearing it, and just that feeling must have been
hitting
amazing.
the stage.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That was crazy. I mean, hearing my songs back to me for the first time, I was like, I recorded an album while I was locked up. I had the tools. I did a track. I did like 5 or 6 tracks over Tupac and Dr. Dre beats.
Oh, nice.
Some people were wanting to know what I was going through, and certain things about certain people that contributed to my incarceration. I just had to get some things off of my chest, old friends that crossed me and things like that. So I recorded like 8 songs in a cage, and we dropped this little album from there. But that was it. I did that. That was it. I was like, I'm not recording music. I'm done. I don't do music anymore. I still wrote. I did hip hop. Like, in my mind, I wrote poetry. And, I'd always be driving around and throwing little freestyles in there just by myself. And I'm like, fuck, I know I still got it, but I never did anything with it. So in 2018, we dropped my debut album, Letter to Judgment. And now, we're almost 4 years in, and I'm working on my 18th studio album.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Like, a lot of my things are like collaborative projects with guys. So, like, I got like my 4 or 5 solo albums, but I got concept albums. I got an artist that reaches out and says, hey, I want to do a feature. And I'm like, why don't we just do an album? Right. Let's do an album. Yeah, it's like these dope artists. They're like, hey, So then I was like, I picked 3 artists. The one of my buddy that got murdered. I picked him, the engineer that I was working with at the time, and then another big local artist that might be signed into Predominant Studios pretty soon, Confidential, up in Nanaimo. I got him, and then I got another artist, King Benz. So I did the 7 series, 3 albums, 7 Sins, 7 Virtues, 7 Chakras.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
concept
nice.
albums, right?
Nice.
Yeah. So each song is the 7 Sin, and then the next album, each song is the 7 Virtues, and then they each, the 7 Chakras, and they're very specific for that. Yeah. So that's what I kind of been doing. Concept albums, pick one producer. It's real clean. It's simple, and it's challenging for most artists, because most guys hear a beat and they're like, yo, I'm going to rap to this. But like, when you have to specifically rap about something, it challenges you as an artist. And I feel like I did that to showcase my versatility.
Yeah, absolutely. And that right there, man. Concept albums, man. That's what made music. That's why you got 70% streaming on these platforms, because
exactly
albums.
That's what we grew
that's
up
coming back, and I think you're going to be at the forefront of it. Absolutely. I also think that the idea of when somebody wants to feature, I worked with a record label for like 3 years, Naked Music up in Jersey and the Poconos area, and we had a hip hop artist, twins. They were great, fantastic, but we had features, and really when you work with someone on a concept where both sides are coming with an idea, but they don't know yet what that idea is gonna. That's an exciting thing. And I remember being in the
so
studio,
exciting.
right? Like
Yeah.
I remember being in the studio thinking, like, what are these guys? Because I have no idea about. I'm a musician, but I don't. That genre is amazing to me. So I'm
Yeah.
sitting in the studio just waiting, and they came up with things that I was just like, man, I would have never. It was Chris Rivers, who's the son of what's his name? Not Biggie. I forgot his name now. Now I feel like Big Pun.
Big
Big
Pun.
Pun.
Yeah.
Big Pun. Yeah,
Oh,
Big Pun's son.
dude, that kid's got bars.
Yeah,
Wow.
Chris Rivers. Yeah, he was on on one of our tracks. We had Joel Ortiz, who's
Nice.
also but when you get them together, and you get and that's just one track. You're talking about a concept. I mean, that is like amazing. So when you went into that, how I got like a million questions now. And I know we don't. But when you went into that, did you kind of already have the idea of the seven, that idea going in when you went into with the the featured person?
When I was like, okay, I'm going to do an album, Seven Sins, I knew right then I'll do the 7 virtues and the 7 chakras.
Okay.
I already knew.
Okay.
I was like, I have to do, if I'm doing 7 sins, which
Right.
7 sins was very easy for me to write.
Right.
Because I've been a sinful individual my whole life. Virtues was tough. Virtues was hard, even though I possess the 7 virtues within me for sure. It was hard to write. It was like, because you're reflecting on things and you're utilizing the mistakes you've made to display why you shouldn't go down this path to be virtuous, right?
Right.
But yeah, chastity and stuff like that. Like I'm out here, trying to bang girls, and how can I write about being celibate and like alcohol free and like, you know what I mean? Temperance and, humility and all these things, kindness. I mean, I'm a kind individual, but I also took a lot from a lot of people.
Sure.
Right. So it was a struggle. And the artist I did it with, King Benz, this guy's amazing. He's one of the best MCs on the planet, let alone like just in Canada. Like the guys that I've worked with, the underground guys that nobody's heard, they're crazy. They're so dope. But even him, he's been through some shit. He's got bodies and things like that. And so for him to write about virtues, it was tough for us. Wow. But it's definitely one of my favorite albums for sure.
And you learn a lot about yourself when you do something.
Right.
Like
that, right? Because you got to dig deep.
Absolutely.
You can't just put shit on the record you don't believe.
Yeah.
You got to stand by it. If I say something, that's my word. Right. I'm a man of my word. So when I say something, that's factual. It's not like I'm making up a bunch of shit. I've done a lot of horrible things, unfortunately, so I can reflect on it. But yeah, it's a challenging thing, but I really enjoy the process.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was gonna talk about is the process of not just but your whole journey, that process. Like, do you get up in the morning? Are you very do you write every day, or is it something where you get the feeling? How does that process work for you?
For me, I get up in the morning, I hit the gym, and I listen to mainly a lot of underground stuff or old school music, right? A lot of the stuff that I listen to that's current isn't heard on millions of streams platforms. They're like my local buddies that are like that I just idolize. These guys, the way they put their rhymes together and stuff, I'm just like, wow, like I wish I could do that, right? And they say the same thing about me, but I'm like, y'all better than me for sure, right? I like, if I make it or if I blow up, like these guys, the world will hear these guys. I'll put my word on that, right? So but I'll throw some beats on. Producers send me beats all the time, so I'll open an email and it'll be like, oh, this guy's sends me his catalog, so I'm gonna plug that and listen to that, and if something speaks to me, then I'll start writing. And if I can get a verse out, then I'll message him and say, yeah, I'm gonna take this beat.
Okay, cool.
Or I'll be driving around and bumping music, and I'll just write bars, a few lines here and there while I'm working, because I own a business and I got a bunch of guys working for me, and so I gotta do my daily things. I gotta be a provider for my family.
Sure.
And so I kind of just write in between. I drive around doing estimates, and sometimes I've written a whole song on a 20-minute drive to somewhere, right?
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
So how do you remember that? I have so much trouble remembering anything, especially like
I
that.
have memory problems. I got a lot going on. So, but even when I'm like, okay, Sunday night I went up to Nanaimo and did a show with an artist, Evil Ebenezer. He's a pretty big guy here on the island. He does world tours and stuff like that. You know, he's got a few 100,000 monthly listeners on his Spotify and stuff like that. So he's getting some good numbers. So he asked me to come and, you know, open up for him, and I did. And I was like, what song should I do? Jeez, like I don't even know. And then I left it to the last minute. Pretty much. I left it to the last like 3 hours, and I was like, shit, I didn't even rehearse. I'm gonna do this song, this song, this song. And I'm like, I don't even know them. I don't give a fuck. I'll know them by the time I show up. And I killed it. I killed my set, and
Awesome.
it was so fun, right? I think for me it's easier to remember. I haven't had a drop of alcohol since I woke up in that cell. So
Wow.
I'm 22 years sober.
Oh wow,
That's
awesome.
awesome, man. That's fantastic.
Never done any hard drugs, just sold a lot of it, unfortunately. And so, you know, for me, it was weed and alcohol, but, you know, 22 years sober. So I think that's my ability where I can write. But I'm sure if I drank or like, you know, did psychedelics or like smoked weed, my songs could be that much more crazy. I don't know what I'd be saying. You know, my creativeness.
I want to find out.
Yeah, no, I will definitely go to my grave sober for the rest of my life. So I'm content with that. I don't have cravings or anything like that. I know what comes out of me when I do drink, and you know, I unfortunately ended another man's life, and it was not something that sits well with me. So I owe it to him and his family to be successful and to be,
Absolutely.
you know, walking this right path and to be sober and to be a good parent for my daughter. So, you know, if I can't honor him in the rest of my life, then what the fuck am I here for?
Right. Wow. I love that. So we're going at almost 46 minutes. It's like,
Wow.
George and I
quick was.
fly when we're like in these conversations. I wanted to, like I said, one of the reasons George and I started this show, we were at the during the pandemic. I've been doing it for a little bit before that, and then George reached out to me, and for about a little over a year now, we've been doing this. And what we do is we really want to kind of bring hope to the audience. We want to bring people that are doing the actual work, that are out there grinding it and actually producing products and motivating them in a way that gives them hope that they can actually continue and they can actually do something as well, and that there's always an opportunity if they really want to. For our audience and even for your audience, obviously, give us some words on like what they should be doing, what they should be looking out for, and just some motivational words.
I think for any young up and coming artist or young man wanting to kind of choose a direction or is fighting with what path to take, be consistent. Put music out consistently, you know, regardless. Never turn your back on your family. Always keep them in your corner, no matter what. Blood's thicker than water in the streets at the end of the day. And, you know, do everything from your heart. That's what you got to do. Yeah. Don't be impulsive. Don't make impulsive decisions. Don't chase money. Don't chase bitches. That shit won't get you anywhere. Right. You know, work hard for what you want. You will earn it and you'll appreciate it even more.
Yeah.
Trust me. And in terms of what I got coming is I got lots of music coming out. So my Esquire album with Predominant Studios is 20 tracks, and they're all different. It's definitely a reintroduction of myself to the hip hop, and it's going to be it's going to showcase my versatility for sure. I got songs about, you know, like this Mad Child song. This was a fun song. He pulled up in a G-Wagon and I said, "Oh, you got rich problems." And that's literally how that song was, how it came to life. But I got songs about abuse, addiction, and you know, songs about the pandemic, songs about, you know, the indigenous babies that were found in Canada that they dug up, you know, thousands of children slaughtered for no fucking reason. Yeah. So, you know, they don't have a voice. So I'm gonna say some things for them. And, you know, I might get in trouble for it from authorities or the government, but I don't really give a fuck. You know, they owned my body for a long time, and, you know, they didn't break me. So, yeah.
I love that. Wow. Yeah. Well, this is it's been like an inspiring conversation.
Absolutely.
We are definitely going to be following you and listening to. I want to check out those concept albums, all of them. We'll do that tonight. And I'm assuming they're on Spotify, on your Spotify.
Yeah, everything's on Spotify.
Awesome.
Mr.ESQ.
Yeah.
YouTube, I got 32 music videos out there, a couple interviews. That's
Yeah.
also Mr.ESQ. And then Instagram is Harrison_Mr.ESQ, and Facebook, same thing. On all platforms. Got a bunch of stuff out. All the albums are out there, concept albums. A lot of good versatility out there. I did a fucking country album too.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm in Nashville, so
Dude, the album I did called Outlaw, I did with this country singer, and I wrote the whole thing, all the lyrics. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, check that one out. But that one's got a song on there, called Full Throttle, about me talking about my sobriety and a bunch of other things. And then there's some nice dancey songs for some girls and stuff like that, right?
Well,
so I try to keep it consistent with doing. I'm not just going to put out one banger and then, another banger or clubby song. I'm going to be consistent with, pouring my heart out into this song. So
exactly. Well,
Amazing.
listen, we really are so grateful that you took the time to spend with us tonight. We hope you come back again whenever you have anything that you want to talk about. Just let us know. We'll definitely have you on. We do this live on Tuesday nights, but we also record shows that, and we just put them out at a later date. So if a recording we can do later on as well. So grateful for you taking the time with us, man.
Absolutely, man. I'd love to give a shout out to Predominant Studios. They're doing a great thing for me and putting me on, and they got my back. They're holding me down. One other one is my woman, Orisa. She's sat there for countless hours and nights, had my back, while I write music and giving me ideas. The thing about this next album, Esquire, those are the two people, Predominant Studios and my woman, picked all the songs.
Oh, wow.
Oh, great.
All the beats. So it wasn't like I heard something and I was like, oh, I'm going to write to this. This is dope. It was handed to me and said, write to this. So it's very challenging for me. And there's a lot of really, really cool songs on this album that, might not have came to light if it was up to me. So they really pushed me and I think they made me better as an artist. But yeah, those two, and obviously shout out my little girl, my daughter, and my family and my boys, everybody in the streets in Victoria, BC. It's your boy, Mr. ESQ.
Right here, man.
Awesome, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on. Hold on one sec. Don't go away. We're going to come right back. But thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely.
How inspiring was that? Huh?
That was great. And that's the kind of stuff that we love to showcase here to the audience, because there's so much hope and so much possibility that you have in you. And right there is somebody who went through a whole lot more than a lot of people that I know.
Yes.
Who are making excuses.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So if you're making an excuse, check out this episode, because I think you should be ashamed of yourself.
Absolutely.
But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. For George Batista, John Henry Soto, Counterparts. We'll see you all again next week. Take care of yourself. And as always, peace.